So you may have noticed that a couple of weeks ago, Squad Brawl and the objective-based modes were separated from the casual playlist. Instead of being one playlist called Battle, we now have Squad Brawl and Objective. So Objective obviously being Dynamic Control, Power Control and Trophy Chase. And honestly, I think this was such a good move. It actually seemingly happened based off of some community feedback in the Discord server, and within 24 hours or so, this change was implemented. Now, first of all, I feel like this would have been a great example of something that they could have actually posted on social media about, or at least made an overall announcement in the Discord server to say that this has changed. And whilst this did come very shortly after some community feedback, it could of course be coincidental, but I don't think that's the case this time. But honestly, I think it's such a good thing for the game. A lot of people don't necessarily like playing Squad Brawl, but also Squad Brawl is a bit more of a casual game mode, which for casual players, they might find a little bit more enjoyable because they're not having to sweat their butts off playing objective-based modes against probably some fairly sweaty players at times. So obviously, if they want to play Squad Brawl, then they absolutely can. And it now means that they can do that at any point in time, instead of hoping it comes up in their casual playlist. But alternatively, you have people who don't really enjoy playing Squad Brawl and just want to play objectives, so now that they can absolutely do that. Personally, my top two favourite modes in this game are Dynamic Control and Trophy Chase, so I will find myself playing the objective-based mode a lot more, at the risk of playing Power Control of course. But if I want to go and play Squad Brawl, I absolutely can, and I just love being able to have that freedom, so I think that honestly is such a good change, and the overall player experience has definitely improved in my opinion, and I think a lot of you guys feel very similar. I've seen a lot of positive comments from the community about this change. So not only is this a good thing for the game, but could this hint at some stuff in the future? Because if you look at games like Call of Duty, they very much separate out their game modes to the point where you could just be playing domination all day if you wanted to, or if you just want to play team deathmatch, you absolutely can. And I feel like it's a fairly safe bet to say that within the next couple of seasons we may very well be seeing some new game modes. Hopefully Hutball will get made permanent soon, hopefully we'll see the return of Escort, and I just think that those modes shouldn't be going into objective, but also they shouldn't be going into a mode with Squad Brawl. I feel like they should all be their own separate game mode, and I feel like Squad Brawl being separated out of objective could be a good sign of that happening. Escort is of course an objective based mode, so perhaps it could go in there, but I feel like something like Escort I would actually very much like to see separated, because it's one of those things that I might just feel very much in the mood to only play Escort and not have my hopes up trying to get it whilst trying to play another 3 modes. So this could be a pretty good sign, but maybe Zynga are reluctant to perhaps do that because they're worried about segmenting the player base. But in saying that, they could just look right to Call of Duty and essentially do the system that they have where you can select any number of game modes that you want and you will search essentially for all of them at once. And I'm pretty sure the lobbies in Call of Duty change every single game anyway. So in Call of Duty I believe there are 9 game modes in the sort of base playlist that you can search for, or you can just choose any number from 1 to 9. So with Star Wars Hunters, it could be a case of, let's say Hutball and Escort are back in the game as their own separate playlists. You then have Objective, Escort, Hutball and Squad Brawl. Let's say you want to play Escort and Squad Brawl, you could have them both selected and it will essentially search you for both of those game modes, and whatever you essentially find first, you go into that mode. If you've perhaps then played enough of Escort but not enough of Squad Brawl, you could turn Escort off to then go and play some Squad Brawl. Or if you feel like adding Hutball back into the mix or just the other general objective modes, you could then select them as well. Or you could have all 4 playlists selected so that it will just search for any game in any of those playlists and you'll then find it. I personally feel like that would be a really good way of keeping the player base together whilst also allowing people to pick and choose what they actually want to play. Something like that honestly for me would go such a long way, and perhaps they at that point could even separate out the objective based playlist and have Dynamic Control, Trophy Chase and Power Control separate, because most of the time if I could have Power Control out of the rotation I honestly wouldn't mind that. It can be a good mode, but honestly it's the one I enjoy playing the least. So if I could have a playlist where it's just Escort, Dynamic Control, Trophy Chase and Squad Brawl, I would absolutely love that. But of course, this is all just speculation and hopes for the future. I feel like this is definitely something that Zynga should look into, so if anyone on the team is watching this and this hasn't been brought up before, I would absolutely love to see this happen. And of course, I'd be more than happy to talk about it a little bit further with anyone interested. But that is it from me today, guys. Let me know what you think about all of this stuff in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.